Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Hello and Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's DAF, KIDDUSHIN, DAF Ches. We are right on top of the Amud at the first line. Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef tells us, look, Mina Aminallah. How do I know that, in fact, this is true? What is this going back to? So at the end of yesterday's DAF, Rav Yosef taught us a Chiddush. This fellow attempted to be Mekadesh and Isha using a roll of silk material, but its value, its worth, was not yet determined. It wasn't yet appraised at the time of the Kiddushin. It doesn't work. Why? Says Rav Yosef, look, by Kiddushin, the pasuk says kesef. Right? We learn from Sedei Ephraim, right? We need actual money. Nasati kesef asada kach mimeni. So, sure, you can use something which has monetary value as well. Shave kesef. You can use a coin, you can use silk material, but just as the coin's worth, its value is set and determined and known, likewise, Shave Kesef has to have that same property. Shave Kesef is like Kesef. And just like Kesef is kitz, it has a set value. Shave Kesef has to have a determined worth prior to using it for the Kiddushin. So you must appraise it before using it. Amar Rav Yosef, how do I know this tremendous Chiddush? Mana Aminillah, that you must appraise before using it. The Sanya, we have a brisa which discusses an Eved Ivri, if one owns a Jewish slave. And the pasuk says, look, the slave somehow acquired funds and wants to redeem himself, he may do so. So the full pasuk reads like this. So he's sort of giving his owner a refund. Mikesef miknasei. We learn from here, Bekesef hu nikne. So if he's returning part of that money which the owner paid to purchase the Eved, Mikesef miknasei, some of the money used to purchase the Eved, this teaches us that you can use money to buy an Eved, right? Because he's returning some of that purchased money. Apparently money can be used to purchase an Eved to begin with. Bekesef hu nikne, so the Eved can be purchased, can be acquired with actual money, but you can't use grains or fruits or produce or utensils to buy an Eved. Why? Asks the Gemara, what do you mean to say you can't use tvua, you cannot use kelim? Do you mean to say that you can't use these items to purchase an Eved Ivri at all, under all circumstances? Why? The pasuk indicates that you can use any item, any utensil. Yashiv geulasa amar rachmana. We have a drasha. I could have said lefian geulasa, says Rashi. Why do you have to say yashiv? He can return, meaning we're speaking about we're including additional potential here. Amar rachmana l'rabi shave kesef kekesef. The fact that the pasuk says yashiv geulasa amar rachmana, this teaches us that money isn't the only means to purchase or to redeem himself. You can even purchase the Eved with Shave Kesef, something that has monetary value, like Tvua v'Kelim. So what's wrong with using Shave Kesef? L'Rabbi Shave Kesef kekesef. V'idilesbu Shave proto. Now, we're assuming that these items have value, right? At least the minimum monetary value, which is typically a pruta. It's the smallest amount of value, which is considered, something with monetary worth. Okay, so if it has no shava pruta, my area tvua v'kelim. So why specify? Why single out tvua v'kelim as ineligible items for purchasing an Eved? I feel kesef nami loy. Even actual money, if it's a coin worth less than a pruta, it can't be used for purchase. Elolav the isbu shavar pruta. Oh, so apparently these items, the kesef, the tvua v'kelim, have value, have a pruta of value. So why can't you use them to buy an Eved? Oh, this proves my point, says Rav Yosef. V'chiban de loy kaitzi, loy was speaking that it wasn't appraised. And therefore, you cannot use it to, it can't serve as a substitute for kesef. And that's the point of the price. Exactly as I'm promoting, says Rav Yosef, that shava kesef has to have a set determined value. Otherwise, you can't use it in lieu instead of money. Now, Rabbah did not really accept Rav Yosef's chiddush. So what does he do with this brisa, which indicates that you need ketzitza, you need an appraised value, you need a determined worth? Hachikama, the brisa didn't mean that. Rather, the brisa means like this: B'teres kesef hu nikne. You want to purchase an Eved Ivri, you can acquire him with either actual money or any other item which serves in lieu of money. Basically, you can sort of buy him by paying his value. That works. Whatever you use to pay that value, whether it's money or whether it's shava kesef. B'teres kesef hu nikne, ve'ein nikne b'teres tvuah v'kelim. But you can't make a kinyan on this Eved. You can't get him using a system which typically uses items and tvuah v'kelim u'mayninu. What system is that? Chalipin. You know, chalipin, that's the type of kinyan we discussed back on DAF Gimel, the swap, the exchange. Totally different system. It's not value for value. You can even use something which is almost valueless. Like today at the weddings, they use a pen or a, right? So, tvuah v'kelim were typically used for chalipin. Rashi brings the pasuk in Rus. He pulled off his shoe. It says kol davar, other items, food, other foods. Bottom line is, these items are typically used for chalipin, and that's not a system for an Eved. You can't buy an Eved with chalipin. It doesn't work. That's all the price is telling you. Make sure you work with the money track. Either you give money or something which is shava kesef, right? So pay his value and buy him, but you can't just swap him with chalipin. That's all the price is saying. But when you use shava kesef, it can be something which has a set value or not a set value, a determined value or not. Doesn't make a difference. Now, Rav Nachman, the question is, according to Rav Nachman, the Omar Peres Lo Abdi Chalipin. You see, Rav Nachman has a shita that the only thing you can do chalipin with is a kli. You can never use fruit and grain. So according to him, the brisa evidently is not alluding to, is not trying to rule out chalipin. Michael Lemmer. So according to him, how do you explain the brisa? The brisa says, well, don't use tvuah v'kelim. We learned, don't use chalipin, which is typically associated with tvuah v'kelim. According to Rav Nachman, it's not associated with tvuah v'kelim. You can't use tvuah for chalipin, so it's not a reference to chalipin. So what's the brisa teaching us here? Elo lo'elam the last bush of a proto. Rather, when the brisa ruled out tvuah v'kelim to be used for kinyan, it meant tvuah v'kelim are not worth much, less than a proto. So your question was, why focus on tvuah v'kelim? Uduka Amris, regarding your question, my area tvuah v'kelim, why single out these items? I feel the kesef nami, even if it's actual coins, money, less than a pruta is worthless. Can't be used for a kinyan, so why single out tvuah v'kelim? You're right. It was just a way of expressing itself. The brisa was just sort of building up. It goes without saying. It goes without saying that using actual money, which is less than a pruta, doesn't work. The isbei shava pruta in, if it has a pruta worth, fine, iloi, but otherwise not. That's pretty simple. That's not a chiddush. It goes without saying. The chiddush is, about tvuah v'kelim, when it comes to something which is actually useful, tvuah kelim, you can have immediate access to its functionality, to its use, to consuming the food, etc. So perhaps that makes up for lack of value. Perhaps I would suggest me the curve hano'asayu, since the hanoah is so close at hand, it's so accessible. In contrast to money, which can only be used to buy and to purchase, it's sort of 2 steps away. Here it's so close to the actual benefit. Gomer makni nafshi. So perhaps giving the tvuah v'kelim to an Eved facilitates his kinyan. He just gives himself away, even though it's less than a pruta, because it's so valuable. Kamashmon, the chiddush is no. You're employing kinyan kesef, needs to have that minimum value, which is a pruta. So bottom line is, Rabbi Yosef attempted to bring a raya to his concept that shava kesef has to have a known, determined worth and value prior to being used for a kinyan, and we refuted, or we sort of did away with the raya. Rabbi Yosef, here comes another raya. How do I know I'll provide a source to my concept. The Sanya, we have a brisa. Egel zel pinya b'ni. Turns to the kohen. He says, "Look, I have a firstborn child, a b'char. Take this nice-looking calf in exchange for instead of the 5 coins I must give you for the pidyon haben." Or he says, "Talis zel pidyon b'ni. Take this garment for the pidyon haben," and he gives it to the kohen. Lo yomar klum. Well, it doesn't work. It's not considered a redemption. But egel zeh b'chamish slime l'pidyon. Take this egel which is worth 5 slime, or talis zu b'chamish slime l'pidyon b'ni. In this case, b'nai padi, it works. Now let's analyze the brisa. What's the difference between case A and case B? Hai pidyon hechadami. What exactly happened in this redemption process? Are we speaking that these items are not worth the 5 sela, which is the minimum requirement, which is the required amount for pidyon haben? Kol kaminia. So how can he make a pidyon if it's not worth 5? Elolav apparently was speaking afagav de shavi. Sure, these items were worth the required value, the required chamesh slime value. But the difference is that in the narration, the first set of cases, he didn't explain that to him. He didn't tell him how much it's worth. He left it up to his imagination. Take this calf. How much it's worth, I'm not telling you. You're given the lekaitzi, and since it wasn't determined, it wasn't clear how much it's worth, loy, it doesn't work. So we see that an undetermined, unclear situation cannot work instead of money. It's a writer of Yosef's concept. Loy, no, perhaps not. Loy shavu was speaking that these items really don't have 5 sela of value. So how can it work in the second part of the brisa when he presented it as though it was? He says, "Look, take this for the 5 sela." We could go into couple kain. We're speaking that the kain was fully aware that it's worth less, but he accepted it upon himself. He says, "Look, I'm valuing it. In my perspective, this thing is worth 5 sela." Right? Basically, he agreed to accept it, even though it's worth less than 5. He accepted it as 5, as though it's 5. Kihada Rav Kahana, as we have a story of Rav Kahana, who was apparently a kohen. Shakal sudram be pidyon haben. So he was being honored as the kohen by the pidyon haben. He took this turban, which the chachamim would wear. And even though it wasn't really worth 5 sela, Amar, he says, "Look, Amar le'lididi chazili chamish slime. To me it's worth 5 sela." So it works. Tei says a kasha. It seems that Rav Kahana was a kohen, but brings a Gemara in Pesachim that he wasn't a kohen. So first he says maybe there were two Rav Kahanas, and then he says that perhaps he was not a kohen, but his wife was a kohen, and he was accepting the pidyon haben on account of his wife. So she's married to a non-kohen, and she still retains her yichus that she can serve as a kohen by pidyon haben. Very interesting thesis. Amar Rav Ashi lo yamaran. When do we say that this sort of upgrade is allowed? Treating something of lesser value as though it's more valuable. El Kagon Rav Kahana, like Rav Kahana the Gavar Rabbi, he was a great man, a chashav man, and he really could use this turban. So to him, it was really worth more. When we buy the Surya Reish, he needs a turban for his head. But an ordinary person, a turban, it's not worth 5 sela. Even if he pretends it is, it's not really worth him the 5 sela. Kihada Mabar Rav Ashi, like we find with this Amora, Zav and Sudr Me'imeh de Rabba Mikubi. He purchased this Sudr from the mother of Rabba Mikubi, Kshavi, Asara, but Leisa. It was really worth 10. He paid 13 because he was desperate, because he needed it, as per his stature. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Elazar. He's Kachali B'mana. He approaches the Isha. Be mekudesh to me with a mana. Mana is 100 dinar. There really is no coin called a mana. It means to say it's 100 dinar. And he only gave her 1 at a time. V'nasan la dinar. He gave her 1 coin. Haruzim kodeshes. Mazel tov, the kiddushin works, but he has to go pay up the rest later. V'yashlim, he has to pay it off. That's his obligation. That's like a tonight, like a condition. But as soon as she takes possession of the first coin, the kiddushin is chal, is activated. My time and why? Kiva the amala mana. Since he said mana, v'yavel a dinar, but only gave her a dinar. Come on, the amala amanas. It's as though he said, look, I'm giving you one now, but the rest is coming later. It's almanas. When you say almanas, it's like he said, look, it's effective immediately on condition that I pay you later. So the kiddushin starts now. Although he only gave her 1 coin. Meisvei, we have a kasha on that from our brisa, which indicates that until he's done paying all 100 coins, there's no kiddushin. Haskashali b'mana. Okay, you mekudesh to me with a mana. And he's counting to her. 1 coin, another, 2, 3, 4. Now, if one of the two parties here want to back off, until the very last coin is handed over, they can change their mind. Apparently, there's no kiddushin until it's fully paid. 1 coin is not enough. It's a kasha on Rabbi Lazar. Answers the Gemara. Hakam Skinner was speaking to Amar b'mana zu. He specified this mana here, this pile of coins. That changes the equation. She's expecting the full mana. I'm waiting for it. But if he leaves it unspecified, I'm giving you a mana. She's not expecting it on the spot. That's Rabbi Lazar's case. But the Brisa is speaking b'mana zu. Asks the Gemara. 1 second. Hamad is safer b'mana zu. But if you look at the second part of the Brisa, we'll see in a minute, which discusses a specified mana, apparently the first part of the Brisa is not a specified mana. Unlike your interpretation. Reisha b'mana stam. The Katan is safe. The Brisa continues. Amar lo, he tells her, Iskachali b'mana zu. Be mekudesh to me with this mana. V'nimtza mana chaser dina. Turns out it's only 99 coins. Or one of the 100 was a copper coin, which is not really, doesn't qualify. And in Mekudeshes it doesn't work. Dina rarizim Mekudeshes, if one of them turns out to be a low quality coin, we'll see soon what that means. She's Mekudeshes v'yachli, but he has to go and fix it up and exchange it. So the Seifa, this second section of the Brisa, speaks about Manazu. Apparently the Reisha speak about a different case. Right? So it was unspecified mana, and still we say until she gets the very last coin, there's no kiddushin. That's unlike Rabbi Lezer's chiddush. Lo, he says the Gemara Reisha v'Seifa d'Amar Manazu. Actually, the entire Brisa is speaking about one and the same case when he specified this here. He pointed to this pile of coins. And actually the Brisa is just explaining itself. Brisa begins. He's Mekadesha with this mana, and he's counting off the money. 1, 2, 3, 4. They can both change their mind until the very last coin is given over. Ketzad, why? What's the case? Exactly, because he specified this mana. This mana is different than mana stam. In fact, I'll support this interpretation. I'll prove my point that the Reisha and the Seifa are both speaking about a case of mana zu, which is different than Rabbi Lezer. It's no kasha on Rabbi Lezer who's speaking about a different type of case. This Brisa is mana zu, entirely from beginning to end is mana zu. This because if you'll tell me Reisha b'mana stam, that part 1 of the Brisa is speaking about an unspecified mana, it wouldn't work. You know why? Once the Brisa already teaches us that by a mana stam, still you have to wait until the last coin is handed over, why does the Brisa even have to continue discussing mana zu, which is a lesser chiddush? If he specified, look, this entire bundle is yours until, of course she has to get the entire thing. But mana zu mebay, is there a need to speak about mana zu? It wouldn't make sense that the Brisa would go from a bigger chiddush to a lesser chiddush. So the Gemara, no, this wouldn't prove anything. No, maybe the Reisha speaking about mana stam and the Seifa about mana zu. Tano Seifa l'glida Reisha. And in fact, the second part of the Brisa is merely revealing to us the correct interpretation, the correct context of the Reisha. What does that mean? Shaloi Taima, you shouldn't even entertain that notion that Reisha b'mana zu, that the Reisha is speaking about a specified mana, and that's why you have to complete the entire handover. If it was just an unspecified mana, have a kiddushin, then even by giving her just 1 coin at a time and leaving the rest for later, it would be kiddushin. No, don't think so. That's why it says, Tano Seifa b'mana zu. That's why the Brisa continues with a case discussing mana zu, which tells you that apparently up until now, meaning part A of the Brisa, Mechlal the Reisha is speaking about mana stam, an unspecified mana. And still, what does the Brisa tell you? Even by an unspecified mana, until you're done the entire mana, until she gets the very last coin, the Kiddushin has not yet been activated. That's a steer to Rabbi Elazar. Afilu hachil have a kiddushin. So bottom line is, perhaps the brisa is a kasha on Rabbi Elazar, but we're not really sure. Rav Ashi Omar, he says like this: the brisa is not a kasha to Rabbi Elazar. Remember, the brisa is speaking that he's counting it off. Even by monistam. But if he's counting 1, 2, 3, she's waiting. She's expecting the entire thing. The data akulik, she's expecting everything. As opposed to Rabbi Elazar's case, where he's not counting money. He says, "Look, I have a money for you. Take a coin," and he walks away. So it's a condition because she knows that he'll pay it off later. It's just a condition. It's a tonight that the Apple must fulfill. But the Maaseh Kiddushin is completed and fulfilled with the handover of that one single coin. So bottom line, before we continue and elaborate further on this brisa, Rabbi Elazar says a chiddush here. You're mekudesh to me for a mana. He gives her one coin. Kiddushin is chal immediately, but he has to fulfill his condition later. What if he says mana zu? Even Rabbi Elazar would agree that she's waiting for the entire thing to be given over to. Until then, there's no kedushin. Rav Ashi adds a new twist. Even mana stam, but if he's counting them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, then it's one masa from beginning to end. You have to wait until the last coin is handed over, and then you have the kedushin. Now, the brisa mentioned that there was something wrong with the coins. There was a copper coin involved, and therefore it doesn't work. What exactly happened with the copper coin? If she noticed it, she was okay with it. She accepted it. It's fine. Apparently, they gave it to her at night. She didn't notice it. Or, she wasn't paying attention and she discovered it amongst the zuzim, and therefore we say she was gypped. There's no kedushin. The next case was a bad coin. Well, don't do it, and it works, but you have to go and switch it up. Hey Chidami, what exactly happened? Either loy nafik, if this bad coin cannot pass for currency, then hainu DIDDUSHIN then it's exactly like DIDDUSHIN HaChoshes, meaning it doesn't have the proper value. Of course it doesn't work. We're speaking that it has value. It's legal tender, but maybe it's scraped up a bit, and they were very particular about the form of their coins, and it was perhaps flattened a bit and scraped off, missing some of the actual material, and therefore it's not an easily, it's not over l'seicher. The merchants, avoid these coins, and therefore we say, look, it's not exactly what she had in mind, but technically speaking, it still has value. So the kiddushin is chal, but you have to go switch it up to satisfy her. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav Nachman. Listen to this case. Amar Allah, he tells her, "Isgad sheli b'mana." Okay. Be mekudesh to me for a money. But instead of giving her money, he gives her a mashkein. V'yineach la mashkein aleh. He gives her collateral. He never gave her money. He never made the kinyan kesef. He's already making collaterals and backups. That doesn't work. Ain't a mekudeshes. You know why? A collateral is good when you owe the person. When you took money from a person, you can say, "Look, this is a backup for that money." This collateral sort of encompasses and encapsulates my obligation to you, as a result of which resulted from me taking money from you, right? But here, all he said was, "Look, I owe you a money." Words are cheap. He doesn't really owe it to her, so a mashkin is worthless. What is a mashkin doing? It's serving as a backup for what? A collateral for what? For a verbal commitment? That's not kinyan kesef. Ain't a mekudeshes. Mana ain't kan, mashkin ain't kan. Look, he never gave her any money, and therefore the mashkin does nothing. Sorry, let me just take that back. Mana ain't kan, he didn't give her any money, so he made no kinyan kesef. Right? And therefore, mashkin ain't kan. There is no mashkin either. Rashi says, "Hilkoch mashkin ein kan ein shave klum she'ena mashkin matana." Meaning to say, he didn't give her the mashkin as a matana. He didn't give it to her instead of kesef. So basically, he didn't give her kesef, nor did he give her a gift. He made a verbal commitment. I'm going to give you the money. That's not called giving her money. That's a verbal commitment. I'm going to give you. So that's out. And the mashkin wasn't either given to her. It was just serving as a backup, as a guarantee that I'm going to fulfill that verbal commitment. So in effect, she didn't get anything. She didn't get any kinyan kesef. There needs to be a transfer of money. And there was none. Eisvi Rav Rav Nachman, I have a kasha to you. The Brisa says clearly, you can mekadesh an isha with a mashkin. Oh, totally different story. Listen to this story. What happened was, Reuven had lent Shimon money. Okay, Shimon borrowed money from Reuven and gave him a mashkin as a collateral. Gave him his car. Right? But it's so different in our case. Shimon actually took money from Reuven. Right? And now this mashkin is in Reuven's possession to guarantee that loan. It's representing that loan. It encapsulates that loan. He can fall back on this car and keep it. He has sort of partial ownership on that car. It sort of contains, it encompasses his claim against Shimon, his real claim which resulted from me giving money to Shimon, right? Totally different story. Now, he takes that mashkin and gives it to the Isha as KIDDUSHIN. That works. Because, as Rashi explains, he was mekadesh with the chayv. There's money in that collateral. He owns that collateral, so to speak, in exchange of his chayv. He's a part owner on that mashkin, and that's what he's giving to the Isha. That's a totally different case. You know, Rav Baruch Ber in Baruch HaShmuel says, this is a world famous quote, this phrase that everybody knows in yeshiva. In the mashkin, inside the mashkin, likt the mechayv, lies the loan, the debt. The mashkin encompasses the debt. It encapsulates the debt. It represents the debt. So, when I'm giving her that mashkin, I'm giving her the credit, so to speak, that I credited Shimon. The loan that I gave Shimon. That claim against Shimon. That monetary claim is now being transferred to the Isha. That's a nice gift. Now she owns the mashkin and the chayv within it, and the chayv that it represents. She has the claim against Shimon, which is within that mashkin. That's called giving you something of monetary value. Look at Rabbi Yitzchak. Like Rabbi Yitzchak tells us. What does he tell us? How do I know that a Baal Chayv who lends money and takes a mashkin in return is actually a part owner on that mashkin? The pasuk speaking about a generous lender who actually allows the loaner the loiver to take back his mashkin when he needs to use it, and the Torah gives him credit. It's tzedakah. It's a very nice thing that you're being generous with his mashkin. You're allowing it back. It may not kind of look if the Baal Chayv has no ownership, he's not responsible for it, he's not a part owner on the mashkin, then tzedakah b'nayin, why is he getting credit like he gave tzedakah? It's not even his item. Mikan the Baal Chayv shekayne mashkin, we learn from here that he really owns that mashkin. So therefore, giving the Isha this mashkin is considered giving her something, as opposed to the first case where, out of the blue, he approaches the Isha, he says, look, I'm giving you a mana for KIDDUSHIN, and instead of the mana, I'm giving you a mashkin. Well, there was no kinyan kesef. Mashkin is serving as a backup for a verbal commitment that he gave her. That's not worth much. There's no actual transfer of money. It doesn't work. And then she's not kind of the mashkin in that case, as we explained, because he doesn't really owe her the money. She can maybe blackmail him by holding on to that mashkin, but she's not really an owner of that mashkin. She's not really kind of the mashkin. There's no monetary ownership of that mashkin. Because she never gave him anything for which she got that mashkin. It was just a verbal commitment that he made to her. So even though this mashkin is going to force him perhaps to give the money, but until that happens, he hasn't really given her anything to own. Says the Gemara, another similar story, which brings out this concept. B'nei Rav Huna bar Avin, the sons, the children of Rav Huna bar Avin, Zovan, hay amsa bepriti. So they went to purchase this maidservant with proto shel nachoshes. Rashi says copper coins. They didn't have access to the coins at that point, so they presented a collateral. Oisivui nascha alei, Allah, ilava. They took, a bar of silver to serve as a collateral. So again, same story. They didn't actually give the seller any money. It was just sort of a verbal commitment. They shook hands on the deal, but they never actually exchanged any funds. And they put present some sort of temporary collateral. There was no kinyan kesef. Turns out that the maidservant went up in price. Right? Question is, who wins? Who gained on that deal? Was it already sold or not? Also, they came to Rabbi Amrlu. He says, no, nothing doing. Priti einkan, nascha einkan. Look, did you hand over the protos that you promised? No. So you haven't given over any purchase money. Right? So although you gave, some sort of collateral, but you didn't give that as payment. You were just doing it to secure the deal. Right? But in actuality, there was no commitment. It was just a verbal commitment. So you never gave him anything. So bottom line is like this. Let's just clarify, we have the two cases here. One works, one doesn't. Right? The mashkin, the acherim works. Your own mashkin doesn't work. Again, why? And the answer is very clear. If you borrowed money and you handed a mashkin to the Baal Chayv, Baal Chayv assumes ownership of that mashkin, so to speak. To a certain extent, he's responsible, he's chayv and oinus, and he can hold on to the mashkin as his if you don't repay it, and he's an owner at this point. Because you own that money. The mashkin represents the chayv. The mashkin represents his claim. So he's sort of taking possession of his claim. He has a right to do that. That's the essence of mashkin. That's how it works. So when he takes that and gives it to the Isha, he's giving her something that he owns, now being transferred to the Isha. As opposed to the Mekadesh b'mashkin, as opposed to buying a maidservant with a mashkin. Totally different story. All he did to the Isha, or all they did to the seller or the maidservant was commit to the deal. They don't owe him money. They just committed to the deal. A verbal commitment. There's no really schayvus. So although they took some item and they used that as a collateral to back up the deal, to serve as a guarantor on the deal. But that mashkin is not a legal mashkin. Because there was no deal yet. Isha didn't lend the man any money to deserve a mashkin. The maidservant merchant did not give them anything to deserve a mashkin. So they haven't really received that mashkin. Legally it's not theirs. So it's worthless. Tana Rabban. Iskacheli b'mana, be mekudesh to me by giving you a mana, and he gives her the mana, but she takes it and tosses it into the local sea. Not loss of zarkasagam, she throws it into the water. Or into a fire, chodavar avad, or any other form of destruction in Kodeshes. It's an outright rejection. I'm not interested in your Kiddushin. Have a nice life. Says the Gemara. Ha shadisinu kamei. So apparently, let's make a deal. If she takes his money and tosses it in front of him, to his face, have a Kiddushin. It works. It's a Kiddushin. Really? So only into the fire. It's not, but otherwise it is. Shakil. Look, she's telling him loud and clear, look, take back your money. I'm not interested in this gesture. So how can we say it's a Kiddushin? Actually, of course that's true. The Bryce is just using a form of expression. It goes without saying. Needless to say, she tosses it right in front of his face. Of course it's nothing. It's an outright rejection. But in a case where she throws it into the sea or the fire, perhaps I would say, since she knows full and well that by destroying his money, she's going to have to pay him back. So perhaps, let's assume that she really wanted the Kiddushin. Kiddushi Kaddish Nafsha. She was being Mekadosh herself. Just the opposite. She planned on marrying him, but she wanted to first test him, test his temperament. Why did she execute this unusual gesture, this unusual response of throwing it into the fire? So she's figuring like this. She's a psychologist. If the Kelai Gav, let me check him out. Before I marry him, I have to know if he's a mensch, whether he has a temper or not. Let me see. Kamash Malan, the Chiddush is no. She goes to such an extent that throws it into the river. That's a right, she's not interested. You know, there's a story of Chavetz Chaim with this Yid who wrote a sefer about savlonis, about patience, controlling one's anger. And he wrote a whole sefer, and he came to Chavetz Chaim for a haskama. Chavetz Chaim took a look at the sefer, and he asks the author to please come back a bit later. Sure, no problem. Came back in the afternoon again for his haskama. Chavetz Chaim says, you know what? Actually, it's a bit, maybe come back tomorrow morning. Sure, no problem. Came back the next morning, and again Chavetz Chaim delayed it. And this man started getting a bit edgy, you know, coming back again and again. Chavetz Chaim looked at him with a smile. He says, look, you know, a person who writes a sefer needs siyata d'shmaya. I'm sure you want, you know, people to benefit from it, to learn from it. And for that you need tremendous heavenly assistance. And you know, in order to succeed in promoting patience and savlonis and controlling anger, the mechaber, the author of the sefer, you know, the words have to come from a person who's worked through in that field. In order for you to have an effect, to have an influence, you have to be one who is totally in control of his midas. And that's why I did this. I was just simply testing you again and again to see whether you yourself are worthy of promoting the concepts contained in your sefer. Well, now I'm not so sure. Maybe go back and work a little harder and come back when you're ready. I'll gladly give you an haskama. So once again he approaches the Isha. I want to be mekadosh with a mana. Her response, Tnei la'aba lavicha. Okay, no problem. Give it to my father, your father. Is that an acceptance or a rejection? Right? That's the key question in our sugya. We have to evaluate her responses. Is she consenting or rejecting? So this time she says, give it to my father. Give it to your father. Enim kodesh. It doesn't work. She's just doing him away. Oh, leave me alone. Give the money to somebody else. And Rashi has a kasha. Rashi says, what do you mean? We had a sugya back on the Vav. Arev. Remember the story of Arev? An Isha approaches a man and says, look, instead of giving me the ring, give it to my friend. And I'll be mekudesh to you. It works. Because it's as though he gave it to her. The fact that he's spending money on her behalf is considered as though he gave her the money here as well. She's asking him to give the money to the relative. Let it be as though she received it. Rashi says a big difference. You see, in those cases, she had asked him. She approached him with the arrangement. But here, it was simply a response. Here's the money. I give it to somebody else. Mishad ta'ani bach, says Rashi. Just poking fun at him. I'm not really interested in this whole deal. But, case B. Amanashi kablum li. Here's the money. Okay, sure. But give it to, on condition that my father or your father will accept it on my behalf. So basically she's considering them shluchim. She says, look, I'm willing to be miskalish to you on condition that they accept it on my behalf. In this case, Mukadeshes works. Right? Now, it's totally different because here, she's serious about it. She's not just showing him away. She says, look, give it to my father on condition that he accepts it for me on my behalf. Then she's appointing him a shliach, and that works. Now, why does the Bryce have to mention my father and your father? What's the point? Tana abba l'diacha k'chadreisha. The point of mentioning my father, the Isha's father, is to highlight the first halacha. that even though she's sending him off to his father, give it to my father, even though it's her own father, it doesn't work. Tana Avicha, mentioning your father, the man's father, highlights the Chiddush in the second part that it doesn't work. Ladicha Koich the Seifa is highlighting the Koich of the second halacha, that when it was done on a serious note, on condition that he accepts it on my behalf, she's sort of appointing him as a shliach, even though it's his father, it works. The Brisa continues with another variation of this halacha. Iskachli b'mana. Okay, you be mekudesh to me with a mana, and she responds, name leplani, give it to so and so. Any mekudesh doesn't work because again she's poking fun at him. Amanashi kabel me on condition that he accepts it on my behalf. Mekudeshes, he's merely a shliach, and therefore it works. Utzricha. Why does the Brisa have to go through all these variations? First we discuss parents, then we discuss strangers. Utzricha. Each one contains a novelty. The Yashmin and Abba Vabicha, we only discuss part A of the Brisa. My father, your father, Hassam, I would say over there, Hudichi Amra Mashi Kabel Mi Abu Kiddushin. There I would say that in the second case where she asked that they receive it on her behalf, it works because, she's confident that in fact her father or his father will do that job. The Samcha Da'ata Layayu, she's relying on them sabr. She figures Avdan Lisha Chusay, they'll certainly accept it on my behalf, so she's secure in this process. She knows it's working, and she is Makadosh herself. Aval plainly by a perfect stranger, that's the other case. Like perhaps she's not really reliant on him, she doesn't know if he's going to comply, and therefore she's not really going into it with a clear conscience, with confidence, and it doesn't work. And therefore we have to mention that case as well, it works. V'yashmin and plainly, if you only discuss the case of the stranger, I would say, Hachahu Dechi Amra, then plainly, over there we say, well, in the case where he just shoot her away, give it to that person, Kedusha doesn't work, because she's not close to that person. The Misvele Matana, that it be considered a gift to him coming from her, and therefore it's as though she accepted it. But when it comes to a close relative, my father or yours, the Makarva Daitel Gabai, where she's close to these people, Ema, so perhaps we can interpret what she said in a positive way. Perhaps it's an expression of acceptance. Even though she's telling the potential suitor or the potential husband, look, give it away, give it to my father, your father. No, she's not just poking fun, she means it seriously. She wants to give them a gift. Therefore the Brisa mentions all these cases, and the bottom line is, if it's an expression of acceptance, it works, but otherwise it doesn't. Tanu Rabbanan. His kachli b'mana, be mekudesh to me with him mana. And she responds, Tsuneim al gabi sela, put it on the rock. Ein mekudesh is once again, it's an expression of rejection. But if she told him to put it on the rock that belongs to her, mekudesh, that's perfect kiddushin, because she's asking him to put it in her rishus. What about Sela Shel Shneim? What if the rock happened to belong to both of them, the man and the woman? And she asked him to place it on that rock. What is the halacha here? Take it, we leave it unresolved. Now Taisa has a kasha. It appears from Rashi that, Rashi says this clearly. Look at Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom. If it's her rock, it works. Why? Because it's like a chatzar. We had this in Gittin, right? Putting it in your domain as though it's in your hands. It's as though she personally accepted it. So that's why it works. But if it's his rock, it doesn't. But if it belongs to both, we're not sure. Asks Taisus, take a look in the Gemara in Baba Basra. We see that a joint property, a chatzah that belongs to two partners, cannot be used for transfer between one party and the other because it's partially the other parties, right? So how can we use the Sela Shel Shneim? What's the shaila in the Gemara whether it works? So Taisus says that, we're not speaking really about kinyan chatzah. We're speaking about, that if it's being put on her rock, she's soymech das. She sort of trusts and feels secure that this, coin will end up in her possession. In fact, the Rosh adds a whole new twist. He says that, different than Rashi, he says that the coin is actually going to be placed in her pocket. She's actually going to take possession. But in the meantime, she's put on the rock. And if it's her rock, so it's an expression of acceptance. If it's his rock, she's just rejecting. Go put on your rock. But ultimately, she has to make the kinyan. And the question will be, in the third case, when it was a Sela Shel Shneim, says the Rosh, the two ways to look at it. It's partially his, so by her suggesting that be placed on that rock is sort of an expression of rejection, but it's really partially hers, so perhaps an expression of acceptance. So that's the suffix, and therefore it's teiku. Next case, his kanchali be kikar. Here, be mekudesh to me with this loaf. She responds, Ne'ola kelev, give it to the dog. In a mekudeshes, it's an outright rejection. But if it was her dog, time of the Gemara, it seems like owning dogs is a very common thing. We have it in Pesachim, you feed the chametz to your dog. It's a very, very common thing. So, feed it to my dog, so that benefits her. Saves her dog food, mekudeshes. So it works. But Rabbi Murray presents the following interesting question. Suppose she's walking down the street and this ferocious dog is chasing her, about to bite her. And when suddenly this Eliyahu Navi shows up with this loaf of bread, right? Be mekuddesh to me. A man, right? I'm just saying Eliyahu Navi is a malach. It's just, shows up at the right time. Perfect timing, right? Here's the loaf, and she says, look, give it to the dog, he's chasing me, save me. Now, what is the halacha here? Is it a kiddushin or not? Shall we say, perhaps yes, ba'hua no. In exchange for this benefit, that she's sparing her life, she's sparing herself from this dog. That's enough for her to give herself over to this man, meaning she got a very significant, tangible benefit. He saved her life. So perhaps it works. Well, perhaps you can say no. He's obligated. It's a mitzvah. He's not giving her anything. Hashem will pay him back. Matzi Amrli, she can tell him, look, midei raisa. You know, the Torah obligates you to save me. Pasuk says, one is obligated to protect his fellow Jew. So you haven't given me anything. In fact, you're not allowed to accept payment for a mitzvah. Schar mitzvah b'haya amaleka. You get paid in the next world. So you don't deserve this worldly payment for what you did. Beautiful thing, thank you, but it doesn't really have market value. And that's basically the buzzword when it comes to kiddushin. It has to have market value. She has to have received something with market value. It doesn't. It's a spiritual thing. Take it, we leave it unresolved. Hiskacheli b'kirker, another similar case. Be mekudesh to me with this loaf of bread. Tnei le'ani, give it to this poor man, the starving person. Any mekudeshes, it doesn't work. Afilu ani yasamach Allah. Even if this poor man is dependent on this isha for his sustenance, so this man is sort of alleviating her responsibilities, it doesn't work. My time of why? For a similar reason as before, Amrlesh, because she can respond to this man, very nice, you did a mitzvah, but don't accept payment from me. I don't owe you anything. I know, just like I am obligated to feed this poor man. Likewise, you are also mechayiv. You're also a Jew and chayiv in mitzvah stucca. So you haven't really given me personally anything. You gave the ani, it's very nice, and perhaps you saved me. You spared me a loaf of bread, but ultimately it was your mitzvah, and that's how it's going to stay. Okay, so in summary, we have Rav Yosef's chiddush, Shava kesef, like kesef has to have determined value, known value. We tried to have two rayas from Brisa, which didn't really pan out. We had the chiddush that by pidin aben, you can actually upgrade the value of an item and consider it like 5 selah. Rav Lezer says he offers her a money, but only hands her 1 coin, out of 100. The kiddushin is chal, pending, his fulfillment of his condition, but the kiddushin is effective immediately. However, if he said money zu, this pile of coins, then we must wait it out until the last coin. Likewise, if he said money stam, but he's counting it, 1, 2, 3, we wait until number 100. Promising an isha money, but just giving her a mashkin is worthless unless the mashkin belongs to his friend. We had many, many examples of various expressions and responses, some of which are considered acceptances, and some are rejections. All the best to you and Atzlacha Rabbah.